Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Report, Week 2. It's a busy week. I'm here as always with Hasan, and we have a special guest with us today, Stefan Lako. How's it going?
I am doing all right. I've tilted enough that I'm back. I think I'm straight now. It was a rough morning for me with a lot of Ravens bets that just went sideways.
Yes.
So the Ravens for me, that was actually a pretty good game. I did not bet any of the overs on the receivers there, so that kind of sucked. But I had Miami plus 3.5, so that was easy money.
How can you say that was easy money? You were down 28 points. Easy money.
Sometimes you just gotta get out there and smell the roses and play a little bit of golf, and then when you come back, all of a sudden you're looking at it and you're like, wow. It was easy money. No, I'm just messing around. We're really fortunate to win that one. I'm still tilting because our Pentagon main event squad that we've got with the ship chasing guys is we lost last week as the second highest team with the second highest points. And this week we got nothing out of a bunch of players who we're gonna talk about, and I'm gonna force you guys to talk about them. I don't really want to talk too much about Juju Smith-Schuster because like we saw that on Thursday night, but I wanted to actually, we can first we can actually before we get into this team specifically, I wanted to get into Trevor Lawrence's day over the Colts. He completed 25 of 30 pass attempts for 235 yards and 2 scores in the Jaguars' week 2 win over the Colts. I don't think that he is particularly good beating up on the Colts who are out. Michael Pittman, Matty Dust is that team, in my opinion, is not particularly good. Chris Ballard and Frank Reich, like that to me, let this be known that the RotoViz report has been against that pairing for the last probably 2.5 years. Is that like we know the mainstream of NFL media wants you to believe that they're actually sharp or good or whatever, but we on this program have been saying that they're very unsharp for bringing back these second or third washout year like quarterbacks who are veterans who are on their third team now, and trying to make this experiment last. So I wanted to get your guys' thoughts here with the Colts. Like, is there any way to look forward for Matty Dust? What's going on?
Well, first, I just have to show you a little something here. You probably have never had a Jacksonville Jaguars fan on the show before, but here we are. It's a day of firsts. I've also never been proud to be. I've never been proud to be a Jags fan. That's been a long time. Matt Ryan looked terrible, and that offensive line did not do him any favors today. He was getting bull rushed and didn't know what to do with it. He was dancing around in the pocket, throwing picks. I had the interception prop that was easy money today. He just he looks done. It's not ideal.
Yeah, he's kind of looked. Last year he did not look good either. I think that's, it was surprising that the Colts even were okay running him out there in this season, given how bad he was last year. But yeah, it's kind of sad to see him out there throwing passes. In terms of Trevor Lawrence, I was about ready to give up after the season he had last year, even though year 2 is typically the year we see quarterback breakouts. But I don't know. Is this an encouraging stat line? He only attempted 30 passes, so you don't necessarily expect a ton of, yardage, but mistake-free in a way.
Stefan, you said that you're a Jags fan, right? So I wanted to get your thoughts on them still throwing despite being up multiple scores. Do you think that's a little bit of stat padding there?
I think that's just Peterson doing his thing. I don't think he wants to, especially when we saw what happened. I'm not saying that the Ravens took the foot off the gas, but the NFL teams can come back awful quick, and they have. I guess they don't have the weapons today. They have Jonathan Taylor, but you don't want to slow down. I think the craziest stat to me in this game is: do you know, without cheating, you probably already know, but who led the team in targets today?
Without cheating, let me just guess. It was if it wasn't Christian Kirk, who was it?
It was Evan Ingram.
Oh, wow.
8 targets, 7 receptions, 46 yards. I was using you guys besmirched the great Hayden Hurst last week, and I love Hayden Hurst and Evan Ingram. I'm the only one out there that still likes these guys. But like if you punted tight end, I think Evan Ingram, he's gonna get work. It's not gonna be prolific, and you're gonna have some frustrating weeks. But for a floor play, you could do a lot worse because he is gonna see some work in the middle of that field.
Yeah. Ingram, he was obviously someone that we were pretty high on when he was much younger with the Giants, but kind of hasn't had the best injury luck, and it's hard to sometimes get back on these guys after so many years. But I think one of the most problematic things from this game for me is how kind of bad ETN looked, and also how little he's being used. So is that ETN is a guy that I was drafting on a lot of high stakes teams. And where should I be?
Blair.
It doesn't help that James Robinson looked pretty good in spurts. Although he didn't look great. I mean, he had that one real nice run for the touchdown, but other than that, it was kind of rough. So I don't know. It's
Yeah, but like James Robinson is coming off an an Achilles tear, and he's playing ahead of Travis Etienne, right? Like, Stefan, I know you write the college the CFB DFS column here. You're clearly plugged in. Like, what changed? Like here, and like we have in Etienne's prospect profile, you've got a guy who looks like he should be in that Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Swift caliber of player, and here he is looking more like man, I honestly couldn't even tell you. He just looks like he looks like a shittier Eno Benjamin. That's what he looks like.
Well, I was an Eno Benjamin truther when he came out. I was the only one writing articles on him as a prospect. That's probably not true, but I hated the draft capital. Anyway, yeah, Etienne, it's a real bummer because he has the skill set. You do have to wonder what it's like. He also was out last year with an injury. New head coach, so it's new for everyone. I'm not exactly sure if. Yeah, I mean the 3 targets is really what's it's pretty upsetting in that. But again, they were playing they're playing with the lead the entire game, like they shut them out. So does the game script change at all? I don't know, or does his role change with a different game script? We don't know yet. It's a little disappointing because I know I was hoping that he would be something, and I honestly didn't think James Robinson would be a type of guy they wanted to give 23 carries to in a game. I thought they would want to ease him back in, and like to your point, the fact that he's not, like maybe that is a red flag.
Yeah. I mean, because the ETN's coming back from a Liz Frank issue, which I know it has its own issues. I'm not a doctor, so I'm just sort of hypothesizing just on like from what we know from like historical injuries and recovery rates. But I mean, with Cam Akers, you're seeing that he's kind of ceding big dog status to the real big dog there in Darrell Henderson, but it is what it is, I guess, with ETN. I will say Christian Kirk, a lot of people mocked that contract, but we here at RotoViz really did like Kirk as a prospect. He may have had the one season with the Cardinals, but like keep in mind that was because there was a lot of injury issues with him. He looked pretty good balling out, didn't he, today?
Yeah, and last week too. He looked good last week too. I think he's a really good wide receiver. I don't know if he keeps this up, but there's not a whole lot of other options there. Zay Jones and Marvin Jones.
I mean, only on the Colts side, I only had like one note, and it's about like Paris Campbell. He just, despite Michael Pittman being out, this guy did not get any targets. He got like 2. Is the dream dead?
Yes,
like dead, right?
Been dead.
Yeah.
Been dead. Yeah, he's clearly a drop because we have him. No, we don't even have him on our main team anymore, our main event team anymore. So
I tried to slide him into a couple of DFS lineups today just to get excited.
Yeah,
and, that was a terrible choice.
Well, it's interesting seeing these guys, Ashton Doolin and Patman, getting these targets, but with just how bad this team looks, and especially with how bad Ryan looks, I don't even know if guys with, even if they're getting the targets, I don't know if you can pick them up.
Do you think the Matt Ryan situation, does it make you all nervous for Jonathan Taylor moving forward?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I think it's a little early because like once you truly take him away, like it's a little difficult. I mean, like I would say like the same level of risk, I guess, or concern should eventually also apply to CMC, right? Because he's not like you're looking at a guy who's hypothetically supposed to command all these targets, but CMC is not getting these targets as much as he used to. And we could probably swing on over to that game because I wanted to discuss DJ Moore, who caught 3 of 6 targets for 43 yards and a TD in the Panthers' week 2 loss to the Giants. So touch a little bit of Baker. We can see now why he was traded for how little he was traded for. CMC managed to grind it out. He got 102 yards on the ground. Still saw 5 targets, got 4 of those for 26 yards. Like neither him nor JT have truly returned that 101, 102 kind of capital, especially when you're looking at guys at the 103 with Cooper Kupp going off yet again today. For those listening to this on audio, he got 11 of his 14 targets for 2 scores, right? So you're looking at these two running backs who are going very early who have yet to deliver the kind of ceiling that Cooper Kupp has pretty much single. Like he's given you 2 week winning performances.
Yeah. It's really puzzling, I think, seeing this stat line from McCaffrey. When you watch him play, he still looks good. Like he still looks explosive and like he's one of the best on the field. So why aren't they throwing him the ball, right?
Yeah, and JT's also explosive, right? Like, and Joshua McAtee makes a really good point in the chat, saying that it's funny that JT, CMC, and Barclay are on teams with really bad quarterbacks, because like there's one thing that these guys do is like they tend to check down a lot more often to the running back options, especially when your wide receiver core is as thin as it was for the Colts today. Mm-hmm. So I'm just sort of confused as to why CMC drew 5 targets, but JT only drew the 1. Because I think JT can be just as explosive in space, but I'm just obfuscating like the conversation here just about these 2 RBs.
No, I think that makes sense. It seems like the Colts would want to lean more on Taylor. The Panthers would want to lean more on McCaffrey.
And I thought with Pittman being out, we'd see Jonathan Taylor involved in the passing game even. But no, like 1 target, 1 reception. It's not what I wanted to see today.
Yep. It's bad.
It's bad, but
talented teams and also bad coaching.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say the Giants are 2-0. So Robbie keeps sort of doing Robbie things. Robbie Anderson. Do you guys think he's having a bit of a career revival here?
I still have him on a lot of dynasty teams, and I'd love to see it, but I don't know if there's going to be, other than DJ Moore, who we love. I don't know if there's anyone else to really trust here on a week in, week out basis. So I'm hopeful. Hopeful is the wrong word. I would love to see it. I'm not expecting to see it.
Yeah. And then just wanted to swing this over to Barkley. So Barkley also did okay. He had 21 carries for 72 yards, and he had four targets. Caught 3 of those for 16 yards. So Barkley is a bit of a reason because I just wanted to bring up. So Sterling Shepard also coming off an Achilles tear, caught 6 of his 10 targets for 34 yards. Kadarius Toney is pretty dusty right now. 3 targets, caught 2 for 0 yards. Very impressive. and Kenny Golladay is gone. Like that's it. Like it's Kenny Golladay.
Yeah. Did you hear on the broadcast? They're like, oh, Kenny Golladay just checked in. They were like surprised to see him on the field. Like, well, that's probably not ideal. Like, oh, who is this man out here again? And he was like the truth for a minute. Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah. This is another case where you would expect them to be throwing to Barkley a lot more. He had 4 targets, which not what you want to see if you drafted him. I mean, even at the end of the first, that's not what you want to see. So I'm a little worried that the Giants keep winning. They might think they're doing something right.
Yeah. I mean, the Giant from a real life perspective, the Giants are winning, right? I think their fans are happy.
And he got 7 targets last week. Like he was involved in the passing game. So I don't think it was I'm still like I bought a lot of Saquon this offseason. I tried to trade for him. I have him in like redraft. I played him in DFS back-to-back weeks. Like I'm all in on Saquon, and I feel pretty pleased so far. I'm not worried at all. I think it was a smart investment, and I think he's going to get the work. And I think today it was just a tough day, and I think there'll be more weeks that we're super pumped about than days like today. And even today wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
I can't not do this. Richie James, is he a thing? Do we need to actually start picking him up?
I almost spit my drink.
Six targets, 5 for 51. I mean, look, like Kadarius Toney, despite being a sophomore player, like is in this Brandon Ayuk doghouse kind of situation, right? But
I mean,
so like Richie James is getting work. Like,
yeah, he had 6 targets last week too.
Yeah, there's. I'm sorry this doesn't make for very compelling radio, but I guess I mean,
but that's back-to-back weeks with 6 targets. So there might be something there. It's early. I think it's a lot of like empty calories, if you will. But for PPR, like he probably can do a lot worse.
Paul's asking how many Kyle Pitts jokes he's missed. Paul, none. We're saving like 30 minutes for that.
I think if your team is in a place where Richie James would help you, then you got
man. You're like listening. Well, you're listening to the right show because we will help you understand why that's a bad sign. So don't make those mistakes next year. All right, enough of these like terrible games. Let's talk about that Ravens Miami game. I mean, so Tyreek Hill got 11 of 13 targets for 189 yards and 2 scores. But I mean, Jalen Waddle also got. I'm sorry, I got to pull up his game log here.
17 targets, I think, if I remember correctly. Also 11 receptions.
19 targets. 19. He got 11 of those for 171 yards and 2 scores. Blair, as the resident Ravens fan, how bad did it feel watching this? And also, what do you make of Raheem Mostert out carrying Chase Edmonds today?
So I'm definitely here for Mostert being the guy in Miami. I have drafted a ton of him. I also drafted a ton of Jalen Waddle this offseason. So it was kind of hard to. Well, I'm happy for him that he did so well. Sad that he beat the Ravens, but it's a weird day for me. Like I didn't know whether to cheer on that last touchdown or scream at the TV.
It was. I mean,
I screamed for you. If it helps, I screamed for you.
Credit where it's due to Mike McDaniel, right? Like they're clearly taking advantage of the fact that Tua is a very accurate short passer, and they're surrounding him with playmakers who are fast motherfuckers, right? Like I don't know how else you describe a receiving core of Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Raheem Mostert as anything but fast, and then also calling them motherfuckers because they're so fast that like legitimately I'm just expressing the frustration of probably the cornerbacks who are dealing with this.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you don't expect both of these guys to go off for these kind of stat lines every week, but I mean, seeing this game at least I think has to make you feel comfortable. If you have them both on the same team, you can start them at the same time, right? I mean, I think Baltimore is probably not like they're not necessarily a scary passing defense, but still, this is very encouraging for the Miami guys.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun watching them air it out too. And Tua did hit Tyreek on a deep ball. He did kind of underthrow him, but Tyreek was so wide open. But my God, what a great game for Tua and Waddle. I kind of loved it. Just the Alabama connection. Being a college football degenerate like I am, it was fun seeing them get back together. And man, I had a lot of Tyreek Hill in DFS. He was in all my cash lineups.
Nice.
And at first I was like, Jalen Waddle, no. And then I was like, yeah, there's enough for everyone. Like, who cares? Let's go. But it hurt me too. It hurt me.
Lamar just, he had this phenomenal 79-yard touchdown run, like longest of his career. He just put together like a slate breaking performance. Like, if you didn't have him in DFS, you're dusted.
I had him and Tyreek Hill. I don't check it until the end because I don't want to jinx it, but I'm feeling good. Sitting here, I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. And then Rashad Bateman had a big game. And Isaiah Likely actually also worked in as a rookie tight end. So I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that because that's very interesting. We saw a lot of late steam on him, like, and towards like around when like preseason started. So is this earlier than you guys expected him to actually start playing this season, like, and start producing like reasonable flex-worthy scores in FFPC?
I don't think so. I mean, he looked good in the preseason, and the other thing is, like, who else are they going to pass to? I mean, Devin Duvernay kind of came on last week to catch some passes. He also had a return touchdown today, but outside of Bateman and Andrews, there really is no one else. So they need Likely to step up as soon as possible.
Yeah, he saw 4 targets last week. I know he didn't have any production, but he did have a few opportunities. I think with the expectations of him being like what you're setting the stage to be, absolutely. I don't think in most formats, I don't think Isaiah Likely is someone that anyone should feel comfortable starting in most formats.
Yeah. But like, I'm feeling pretty good having him on some FFPC best ball rosters. Is I'm pretty happy with that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And he's super athletic. I mean, he looks amazing running routes, and it's fun seeing him involved this early. And I'll be curious to see what happens when JK gets back because they just didn't even try to run the ball much. I mean, Lamar led them with 9 attempts. Kenyon Drake had 6. Kenyon Drake had 6 rushing attempts for 8 yards. I remember last year people were nervous that Kenyon Drake was going to keep Josh Jacobs from producing. Kenyon Drake is a very bad running back. We should never be worried. So when JK gets back, I'm very curious to see how this offense changes, or if this offense changes. I definitely think you'd like to see a little bit more from your quote unquote lead back.
Yeah, and just before we move on, like, Justice Hill was in there. Just want to say, hell yeah.
That's what should be happening.
That's what should be happening. It's been like years coming. It's been years coming. This is the season where all the guys who we once rostered are coming out, boys. This is it.
Well, seriously though, like, if you look, like, he should be getting the work. Like, it shouldn't be going to Drake. It shouldn't be going to Mike Davis. It should all be going to Justice Hill until J.K. Dobbins is back, because these other guys are trash. Like, I don't know what I love Harbaugh. I think he's a fun coach. Great job. I just don't understand what he's doing with his running backs right now. Yeah. And last year too.
Look. It's really, really unfair of you to say that, because that's really insulting to trash. All right.
Yeah, that's true.
Look, some of the rookies really, really balled out this week, but none balled harder than Garrett Mfing Wilson, right? He got 8 of his 14 targets for 102 yards and 2 scores in the Jets' week 2 win over the Browns. He actually he got that game-winning touchdown. I don't have much to say except for Garrett Mfing Wilson. So does anybody else have anything to add here?
Just a couple of exclamation points, maybe. I mean, and last week he didn't have a baller day, but he had 8 opportunities. Like, Travis and I, like, we keep track of all the rookies on our College to Canton show, and he was one of the guys that we were like, man, we we think if anyone is worried at all, like we're still buying in. And Joe Flacco is not a huge downgrade for Garrett Wilson. Like he's still going to feed him the ball. So we were really excited about him. And then to see him produce today was absolutely phenomenal. He was my wide receiver 2 last season coming into the class. Drake London was number 1 for me. But man, he's looking really, really good. I'm excited. I have quite a bit of Garrett Wilson, and he looks fantastic.
By the way, Joe King
pass too.
Yeah, no, but I was gonna say Joe King makes a really good point here. Breece Hall looked quick. He looked good. Looked really good.
Oh, that's right. He caught a touchdown as well.
Yeah.
And he's another guy who had 16 opportunities last week. Another guy who had a lot of chances to produce for us in his first game. I was surprised, like last week, like, oh man, Michael Carter got a lot of work. I was like, of course Michael Carter got work. I wasn't expecting Breece Hall to jump in this quickly, and to see how much work he's getting this early, I'm super stoked for Breece Hall.
Yeah, like he's ripping off 7.1 yards per carry. And then, I mean, Michael Carter is clearly the receiving guy, but I don't know how long that really lasts. Joe Flacco threw 4 TDs today, which is crazy.
Right. Is it a concern that Hall went from having 10 targets last week to only 1 today?
I don't know. I mean, I'd rather not see that, but it's hard to say.
The thing is, this team really loves Tyler Conklin. He got 9 targets. That's the craziest thing I've ever said in my life. This team loves Tyler Conklin.
Yeah. I mean, when you can, you got to, right? Like,
oh yeah. But yeah, so like, sorry, you were saying, Blair?
Well, I'm just wondering if after this performance and seeing kind of how Atlanta struggled today, does it change the way you would have these 2 rookies ranked, London and Wilson?
For this year, I think Garrett Wilson for sure, and maybe long term as well. But I don't think Mariota or Desmond Ridder is going to be the future here. I think there's a reason, like the fact that, I mean, I love Mariota. I'm an Oregon fan. Go Ducks. So Marcus Mariota can do no wrong. He's already done enough for me. But if you're letting Marcus Mariota start over Desmond Ridder after like going into next week, there's something wrong with Desmond Ridder. Like that's just what I believe. And I think we see Bryce Young or Stroud in this Atlanta office next year. And I'm very excited for a Kyle Pitts, Drake London, CJ Stroud, and then some other guy that they bring in. Or Calvin Ridley. I doubt he comes back to play for them, but it could be fun.
What is there to get hype about like Kyle Pitts though? Like he really hasn't lived up to his billing. I mean, even today he commanded 3 targets and he caught 2 of those for 19 yards. Like, he saw a lot of steam late. Like, we were taking him over Mark Andrews, right? Like we wanted to buy into it. But like the fact that, Drake London didn't play much in the preseason and shows up and is now destroying worlds in the NFL is very difficult. I mean, this guy is getting out, like he's getting the same number of targets as Kaderil Hodge. Like Kaderil Hodge was a guy from like Game of Thrones, wasn't he? Like season 1.
Sure.
Yeah, that's. I mean, obviously, you love to see Drake London having a game like this. I guess it's weird that Atlanta only attempted 26 passes, even though they were losing most of this game, all of the game, probably. I didn't see the whole thing, but I'm losing by a lot for a large part of it. So the game plan doesn't exactly make sense to me. Obviously, that has something to do with why Pitts doesn't have more than 3 targets, but definitely would like to see him be more involved than a lot of these other guys. I mean, Patterson and Algier both getting 10 carries in this sort of game script, I think doesn't make sense.
Kyler Murray's trying to tie this game
to
overtime.
There was a ridiculous sequence here in Arizona, Vegas. For those of you who are listening at home, listening to this, the Cardinals just could not score, and Marquis Brown let a touchdown bounce off his chest. Cliff, Cliff is calling plays as if he has an idea of what he's doing, but he doesn't. Like, this is just a man holding up a Burger King menu and ordering in a drive-thru right now. Kyler took off all on his own on a broken play to score this like potential game-tying touchdown. So you can hear us react to this in lifetime as we tilt Drake London. Just to bring this a little bit back on track here. I want to talk a little bit about another rookie wide receiver who we were pretty hype on was Chris Olave, who got 5 of his 13 pass attempts for 80 scoreless yards in the Saints' week 2 loss to the Buccaneers. I believe Jameis Winston is playing through injury right now. But it's very interesting to see Olave commanding such a large target share very, very early, because for starters, he got earned more targets than Landry, who was the lead guy in the clubhouse last week, and Michael Thomas. So Michael Thomas got a touchdown today. He's been having a very touchdown reliant kind of season, if that makes sense. I think that some of this might be because we didn't see much of Alvin Kamara this week because he was ruled out. But I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on Olave. Like, do you guys think he has a big breakout like coming? Because I don't know if for one, does he repeat this target share? And two, do we see him break out soon?
Yeah, Stefan, this is one I'd really appreciate your input on, since we saw Wilson just do so well in this week, and Olave, of course, was his teammate at Ohio State, where
right. And Chris Olave is amazing, a great deep threat guy, and that's kind of how I envisioned them utilizing him. And he had that one really deep one that just got overturned. I think ended up being incomplete. I'm really curious to see his ADOT after today's game to see how they're using him, because if they are using him in that role, I'm very excited about it. Tampa Bay, we knew this was going to be a really, really tough game as far as offensive productivity from either side. Just given the injuries coming into the game, it was an obvious underplay if you're into that sort of thing. Which no one should be into betting unders. It's the most boring, terrible thing in the world. Yet it's the most profitable way to bet. Anyway, Kyler Murray, he did it. He did it. We're going to overtime.
Kyler Murray just forced overtime.
I hope. Anyway, so I love Olave. I think this is a really, really good sign. There seem to be enough targets to go around. Like you said, Smith is still getting his. Landry's getting his. I think Landry. I think Olave, when utilized as I think he should be in the deep passing routes. So yeah, I definitely going to check that ADOT information as soon as it's available. And I think this is an opportunity. Although people who have Chris Olave probably aren't wanting to sell him, but I think buying high, I mean, he's going to be more expensive 2 weeks from now than he is now.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I'm worried about this entire offense, especially if Jameis is playing through some kind of injury. We've got more overtime games. I mean, who doesn't love it? But full disclosure, we've got overtime in Arizona, Vegas. And I've got the under on Renfro receptions, which was line was set at 4.5, and also his receiving yards. So I'm looking at a horrible sweat here.
What was the receiving yard line?
I think it was 55 or something. Okay. But I mean, it's still under review, so we'll see. Again, we did touch a little bit on Amon-Ra St. Brown earlier, and he's on my show sheet. I don't know why.
Real quick, can I ask a question? We've talked about 2 Ohio State receivers. Can we talk about the GOAT Ohio State receiver, Noah Brown, Dallas Cowboys, producing again? Get the hell out of here. What's going on that Noah Brown is being talked about in the fantasy community? I'm here for it, but it's ridiculous.
No. So
that's a good take, right?
So I actually on our main event team, I actually went ahead and put in a bid on Noah Brown, and friend of the show, Ben Gratch, was like, I don't know what Noah Brown does to this team, and I had to send him back an email saying, no, you don't think you understand. He's the alpha on this team.
Yes. Oh, it's
so that's where we're at. By the way, that game concluded, the Bengals at Cowboys. The Cowboys squeaked out a last-second field goal victory. very impressive with Cooper Rush under center, who's looking, in all honesty, looking better than Dak. I don't know what you want me to say. Like he fucking did it.
I'm worried about Joe Burrow. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
He's looked real bad 2 weeks in a row.
Really bad. Yeah.
I don't know. I was high on Joe Burrow coming out. 1 year wonders don't typically do it for me. And so I was worried about him. Of course, I was also worried about Josh Allen, and every week I feel like a complete dumbass for doubting Josh Allen. But I'll say it here: Joe Burrow, I think, is completely overrated.
Oh, so that's spicy.
Like last week he was bad with all the turnovers. This week, at least, he avoided throwing an interception. So
he was sacked a bunch. I don't remember how much. I had this game on in the background and like on a secondary TV, and I just was not impressed at all.
Looks like Dallas had 6 sacks, 9 QB hits.
Yeah, I was workshopping a very spicy T. Higgins take, and I don't think I can get it off because he led the Bengals in receiving. He had 10 targets, caught 6 of those for 71 yards and a score. So, that's egg on my face. I was workshopping this very, very spicy take, and now I can't get it out.
Is Tyler Boyd, is he completely droppable?
With Hayden Hurst out targeting him, you got to give him a couple more weeks. But yeah, I think
Hayden Hurst is a quality tight end, Hasan. I'll have you know.
I know, but
former first round
targets. 7 targets, though, right? So that's the thing that look, Kyle Pitts was also a first round pick, and look at him, he's producing less than Hayden Hurst. He's producing far less than Hayden Hurst.
The tight end life is no fun life, man.
Before we sign off, sorry, I do want to talk about probably the biggest news, which is that Trey Lance is definitely out for the season.
Right.
Yeah. We have to talk about that. So we just got that from Adam Schefter. Trey Lance is done for the season. Stefan, I want to really, because you are a college football guy and you do scout prospects. What are your thoughts on his dynasty value going forward, please? Because I'm not.
I had a lot of Trey Lance before he got drafted first, in the first round, before they gave up all the capital to get him. But I never thought so I got him cheap is what I'm trying to say. I would never have paid up the price that it required to get him just because he has got no track record. We don't know what he is. Could he be amazing? Absolutely. That is in the range of outcomes, but we haven't seen it yet. Shit. North Dakota State barely got to see it. That COVID year didn't help any. We don't know what kind of football player he is. We think Malik Willis has a questionable prospect report coming out, but Trey Lance's is much more difficult to understand. At least he has someone who went before him from his school that's really panned out to be an amazing quarterback in Carson Wentz. So he has that going for him. I'm being very sarcastic. You can't trade Trey Lance away now, and in Dynasty, there's no fucking way I'm dropping him. So he gets to ride my IR until next year. But damn, I wish I would have sold last week or in the off season. But I was I got him cheap. He's really expensive now. I'll just see what happens. And that seems to be a mistake.
Yeah. There's some kind of thought that even though Lance probably is better than Jimmy G from a real football perspective, Jimmy G helps the receivers more. So
I think if you took the team win total, Jimmy G being their quarterback might be better for you than Trey Lance.
Yeah.
With that defense.
Yeah.
It's like Stetson Bennett and Georgia. Sorry to go college football here, but Stetson Bennett on most teams isn't going to be great or good. He's a net negative. But with that defense there and the talent he has around him, he can really produce. And I think that's what Jimmy G will be able to do now too, because they've got that defense, they've got a running game, maybe. But they've got Debo, they've got Ayuk, they got Kittle. I think Jimmy G is going to be fine. Maybe not for fantasy, but for if you bet the 49ers win total, I think you shouldn't sweat it too much.
I'm trying to think. I don't think I have any futures on the Niners, so I'm okay there. I do have Trey Lance under season long, so under rushing yards, under receiving yards. I have Trey Lance under rushing yards and under passing yards and under passing touchdowns and under rushing touchdowns.
Will they cash those out now, or do you actually have
yeah,
to
because you had to play the first game of the season. They're not going to cash those out now. I'm going to have to wait for them to call it the end of the season.
They'll still be good?
Yeah.
Nice.
I just went all in on. I mean, I just didn't think of him as a particularly good player.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Stefan's saying is right. He had such a wide range of outcomes that you could see. I don't know, not Mahomes, but like you could see.
I can't see Mahomes. I couldn't see Lamar
in his range of outcomes.
Sorry, what?
You could see fantasy QB1 overall.
No, you couldn't.
Oh, of course
he's not that fast.
He's pretty fast. He's pretty damn fast.
4.7, but I mean, like the guys who we think about as typically fast are like much faster than him.
But if he's got an arm, then that's okay.
What arm? He barely threw the football. I think Zach Wilson had more passing attempts in his sophomore year than Trey Lance had his entire collegiate career.
Yeah, I don't dispute that. I think that's Stefan's point, is that we just don't know. He could be terrible, and maybe he is, but he could also be great.
Yeah, I mean, this is so. Whoever owns Lance, you're not going to be able to buy him cheap, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like it's not going to happen because people still believe.
I'll say, in there's a couple squads that that will probably be very bad in some of my dynasty leagues. I do a lot of Devy leagues and C2C leagues. We have a full college team and a full NFL roster. Super fun. Highly recommend playing in those leagues. It's ridiculous. But and some of those NFL squads that are not going to be performing well, I'll throw out some trades for Trey Lance and see what happens.
Year. I mean, especially if you're in a rebuilding dynasty's roster, you got to just embrace that fucking volatility, unfortunately.
And do it now before week 6 when you're like 3-3 or 2-4 or whatever. Like, do it now. Do it early. Make the move now. Tank. It's not going to be fun, but if you wait too long, it's too late.
Yeah. How do you think this changes the value of the pass catchers in San Francisco? Does it make it harder to acquire Debo or Ayuk, or easier?
Harder, man. Harder. Everyone's going to be like absolutely anchored to what happened last year now. By the way, Kittle is another really dusty tight end, huh?
Well, don't say dusty tight end.
If you can't get on
what's the rating on this? What's the rating on this show? I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say and not. With dusty tight ends gets that. That's like
no, it's we're still PG. So for all the parents driving their kids to school, I do apologize. Okay, so like just moving away from the Niners because we have an idea of who they might be. Let's go to on the other side here with the Seahawks because. Kenneth Walker got some run and he looked pretty bad. 4 carries for 10 yards. Rashad Penny didn't look much better. 6 carries for 15 yards. And Travis Homer, well, he got all the receiving work. Kenneth Walker also got some receiving work, but like Homer looked like the better receiving back. So one, why do you guys think that this team has gone away from Penny as a receiving back when that was clearly his like bread and butter last year? And 2, like, what is our interest level here in Travis Homer?
Oh, zero interest in Travis Homer for me. So I used to live in Seattle. I was a Seahawks fan. I moved to Denver recently. Now that Russ is here, I'm just a Denver Broncos. Like, if you can't hear me, it's because of all the boos that are still echoing around Denver after the performance today. People were, it was pretty crazy. But no, I used to love the Seahawks, and there's one thing I don't trust Pete Carroll for anything. I don't think he's a very smart coach when it comes to offensive football. I don't think he knows how to utilize his players, and maybe part of that is a Russell Wilson problem because he seems to be bringing that right over here to Denver. I'm not very interested. I have a few shares of Ken Walker just because so many people were like, Ken Walker's going to be awesome. And I just didn't want to be wrong. And it sounded fun to have but I had Rashad Penny and Ken Walker ranked super low. Ken Walker's another guy that, balled out for Michigan State last year, but before that had never really done much either. So it was another one of those like 1 year amazing production. But what are we actually going to get? He never had much of a receiving profile, but people wanted to believe that he could still catch the ball, and maybe he can, but he was never utilized like that at Michigan State or even previously in his career. So, this backfield is just like a clear avoid for me for this year and for Dynasty. I'm not sure what I want to buy into. Yes, Ken Walker has nice draft capital, but Rashad Penny was a first-round pick who got to see the bench behind a seventh-round pick in Chris Carson. So I'm not really interested in anything out in Seattle.
You can see if this team is going to be really bad that they might end up utilizing running backs. I mean, I don't know what I'm saying. Pete Carroll's not going to do that. Never mind.
Yeah, because they have talent and there's things they could do and should do. But again, DK Metcalf, 4 receptions for 35 yards. Like, he had a huge one called back from a holding call or something like that. But like 1 week it's Lockett, the next week it's DK, and even then, like, it's pretty low ceiling. The running backs, I don't see a whole. I just don't see much in Seattle to get excited about from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah, if I thought Homer was going to end up being like, I don't know, like a J.D. McKissick kind of guy where you could sometimes get these double-digit target games, and he could have a few weeks where he's producing just on pure volume, then he'd be a lot more interesting. But it's really hard to see that in Seattle.
The overtime game is still going on. Marquis Brown has, like, instead of using stickum on his like gloves, he must be using butter or something.
Yeah, I think so. He looks terrified to get hit, is what it is. Like, he's like, just don't hit me. I want to catch the ball in space, not with anyone near me. What'd y'all think about the running back situation in San Francisco with the injuries there? We saw kind of a split between TDP and Jay Wilson.
Yeah, so seeing TDP get 13 attempts, 13 opportunities, pretty good. Not that good. What's not that good to me is not seeing him used much in the receiving game. Jeff Wilson was efficient, so he will continue to be the guy for now. But like, we've seen Jeff Wilson, right? So I think TDP should hopefully get a little bit of run here.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't look great, obviously, but I would expect that he'll still get put in. I mean, we know San Francisco loves Jeff Wilson, so he'll continue to be used at the goal line and all over the field.
In Denver, they play Denver next week, and Denver's rush defense, I don't think they've given up much as far as scoring goes, but they've been giving up some yards. Rashad Penny looked good last week. What's his name? Florida running back. Why can't I think of his name?
Yeah.
I don't know what he went to school. Pierce. He looked okay today too. He got a lot of work.
So there was no Rex Burkhead, right?
He had a couple receptions. That was about it. I'll be curious to see. Oh no, Hunter Renfro's doing something.
That's it. That ends both of my bets. So, well, maybe not the receiving yards, but it ends the catches bet. But what Josh McAtee makes a really good point here. TDP was used late in the game as they wanted to close it out, as opposed to Jeff Wilson, who actually played when the game mattered.
Yeah.
So
makes sense. Jeff Wilson is secretly Shanahan's favorite running back in the league.
It's always the one. It's always the one who's going undrafted or in the 20th round, right?
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about this Tyler Lockett usage because 11 targets, 9 catches, 107 yards. What on earth is this?
I mean, he was barely involved last week, right?
Yeah. Well, he was heavily targeted, though. He just wasn't efficient.
Did he get some targets last week? He had 4 targets last week.
It was DK who led the team, right, last week?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to see both of these guys having good games in the same week with the way this offense is looking.
I have this year I drafted 0 DK. I got some Tyler Lockett because he was so cheap late, but I was not interested in DK Metcalf at all. And again, I could be wrong, but it's the type of football that they're going to want to play. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I commend you. I just became a coward later on in the draft season. I was like, what if they use the guy you need? That was that. You can play that game with everyone though.
Are we gonna see another tie? Just real quick, are we gonna see back-to-back weeks with ties?
Right now, I think Cliff Kingsbury is like ordering like In and Out, but like he's like,
Here's the thing.
I want it in animal style. He's like animal style, and they're like, sir, you've got no animal in you, absolutely no dog.
But here's the thing: we've all seen how beautiful his house is, and like the market is kind of dipping a little bit. Should we kind of get on top of things, start getting have our people talk to his people, buy the house before? Right, he's gonna get fired at the end of the week, I'm sure.
We should just be allowed to move into his house, eminent domain, absolutely nothing else. And there goes my Renfro receiving yards as well. So that was
he fumbled.
And he fumbled. Yeah, but he's I guess of those yards.
The yards still count. Sorry.
What I will say is I wanted to switch gears over to the Broncos game, if only because Judy also left very early with an injury. But really, a little bit more than just about Judy, Russ looked bad. Like getting booed by the home crowd, bad against the Texans, bad. Sutton went off. He had like seven catches for 122 yards on 11 targets. Just wanted to get you guys' take. Like, is what's his name dust?
Russ Wilson?
Yeah. I in my mind he's dust. So I'm clearing out anything that I might have remembered about him, including his name.
Seems like he does this almost every year, right? Starts off the season and you think he's the worst quarterback, and then he'll come on late. Maybe not.
I don't know what to tell you, because I thought the problem was the Seahawks OCs. It was typical Seahawks fandom. Blame everyone except Russell Wilson. Now he's in Denver, and it's all the same fucking problems. And I feel bad for Broncos fans, because now you get to know what it's like to be a Seahawks fan, and it is miserable. It is miserable. So welcome. It's going to be a ride.
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure if Russell Wilson is toast. He doesn't like to run anymore. That's a huge problem. And I mean, it didn't help that they had a bunch of drops today. But even with that, the offense looks so inefficient. Hackett does not look like he's ready to be a head coach. He doesn't know how to do time management. He doesn't know how to use timeouts. They use their delay of games already this season.
Yeah. I believe they use their last timeout in about 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Atrocious. They use a timeout.
Is it atrocious, or is it just funny? Because I think it's funny.
I live in Denver. I want them to be good so that life is interesting. Yeah, it's sad. Funny and sad. I do think
they're still letting Hunter Renfrow go.
I think.
There goes Hunter Renfrow fumbled the football, and it looks like the Cardinals are going to win the game.
Oh my god! You'll love to see it. Jesus. I feel like he may have thrown that a second too soon at the back of the end zone. We might have like a safety or something, or a touchback. That'd be fantastic. Cliff Kingsbury, we're not going to get to buy his house this week, so we'll have to wait another week.
Bummer.
I think he's just celebrating because he's getting in and out. Like there's nothing else. Oh my god, such pain for me here. Anyway,
anything else we wanna touch on before signing off here?
Javonte Williams, very good. If he actually starts catching, converting a lot of those like targets that he's getting, especially if Judy is gonna miss some time, man, just watch out. He could be the RB1 this year.
Yeah, for sure.
I did want to mention, we were talking about tight ends. Not tight ends, rookies a little bit. I wanted to mention that George Pickens, who was like the darling of preseason, he only had 3 targets today. So he wasn't super involved, unfortunately. And then I'm not sure if y'all talked about it already, but I'm super concerned about what to do with. Oh shit! Who was I going to talk about? This is wonderful. Never mind.
Wonderful.
I forgot.
While you're looking that up, I'll ask about another rookie who's been a surprise to me. Jahan Dotson caught another.
No, that's who it was. Yep.
Yeah.
And 5 more targets, and I think he's just making unbelievable catches. And you've got, of course, Terry McLaurin there. We got a lot of Ohio State guys. But to me, Jahan Dotson just gives them something a little bit different. And Carson Wentz is looking for him, and he's proving to be reliable. He was another guy at Penn State who was absolutely fantastic and kind of demanded targets there, and was able to produce even with really mediocre quarterback play and like Sean Clifford and company. So I'm excited to see what he can do. Not that Carson Wentz is like a god or anything like that, but if he continues to feed him, that could be something that's really exciting to look into. Jalen Warren, I think, he's still got some work, even though Najee was okay. So I do think, like, I'm not much into handcuffing, but if you are looking to handcuff, that's definitely the way to go in that backfield, because he's going to get a little bit of work regardless. I am interested to see what Tennessee does with their rookie wide receivers. Kyle Phillips kind of led the way last week, but of course Treylon Burks is who we would expect to see. But if Kyle Phillips has another game where he's dominating targets, you're going to want to buy in before it's too late.
Yeah.
Or if you have an empty roster spot with people coming up to play, pick him up now before next week.
So I'm gonna, like, the thing that I'm most interested in, given Wentz's really, really weak work, the guy who I'm excited to see is, he was inactive this week. Hopefully he's active next week. Sam Howell. I think you got to stash him on your super flex squads. Yeah. I think he's coming, man. Like, this is like Washington should have had their doors completely blown off. I think that is going to happen. I'm very excited to see Treylon Burks next week. This week. I'm excited to see what happens with Justin Jefferson versus AJ Brown. Like, this is like alpha on alpha type shit. Like, you're gonna see, like, those are pretty fun matchups. But I'm definitely thinking Sam Howell is that guy that you got to start stashing away ASAP. And I think if the Titans get humiliated bad enough, you're gonna want to also consider stashing Malik Willis soon, because that is very real.
Malik Willis could be fun. I hate Liberty, but he's another one of those weird prospects. Not quite as weird as Trey Lance, but just playing for such a small school. It'll be interesting to see what he can do if and when he gets the chance. But I'm with you. I hope it's sooner than later. Travis, my co-host on the College to Canton podcast, he thinks it's Tannehill forever this year. He's in Tennessee, so he thinks that they're brought into Tannehill and it's going to be at least next year. But the Sam Howell take is one that I really like. He was awesome at UNC, putting up absolutely insane numbers. Drake May at UNC now is kind of doing the same thing. I love Drake May. I have to give a little shout out to him. If you are in any Devy or college fantasy football leagues, Drake May is the truth. So he's only a sophomore, so it'll be a while before we get to talk about him in the NFL, but he'll be a first round pick.
All right. On that note, I think we can call it a day. Before we sign off, Stefan, I know you're writing the college football DFS post. You've got the podcast you mentioned. Where can people?
Yeah, so I do College to Canton with Travis, where we talk about both college and NFL. Do a lot of fantasy centric stuff, but we look a lot about like the transition from college to NFL, so get people ready for all their drafts that involve rookies. And then Matt Wispay and I do the fantasy football podcast for RotoViz. The college fantasy football podcast, where we do a lot of DFS talk and just picks against the spread and totals and stuff like that. So if you're into betting, it's a fun podcast to listen to because we're pretty ridiculous and have a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah, definitely check those out. Check out Stefan's article. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel, rate and review our podcast. And we'll talk at you next time. Bye.